Very nice. Let's hop into this here. We got an NBA Finals game to watch in a little bit here. So crackbacks, we're back. We had a little hiatus there, took a little break, a little recharge, did a little traveling, just did a little life. So we're back to sports are heating up here. Baseball's going on. Not much to talk about there. Both our teams suck. Football's getting ready to get ramped up. We'll have more of that coming in the next few weeks here because they're going to be back in OTAs, camps. Right around the corner, preseason, the truncated 2-game preseason right around the corner. But you know what's happening before all of that? The Olympics. Are you excited? Do you care? I'm usually an Olympics guy, dude. I love the Olympics. This year, I'm not really feeling – they're not going to have fans now. I don't know. How you feeling about the Olympics, though?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, I already wasn't that excited about the Olympics. I've stated on many occasions to you guys, and the audience should know – my opinion of Olympic basketball, how they should just scrap the entire format and do Team USA versus Team World best of 7. I think that would get a lot of viewers. just saying.
You have to have at least 3 teams so that you have a chance at a medal stand. So we can go continent by continent if you want to do it that way.
I don't think that matters.
Well, no, you'll have some battles for the silver medal, though, because sometimes Europe will win it, maybe sometimes South America when they have a good Argentina team. So the second place is where the intrigue comes in with Olympic basketball, as long as NBA players are involved. But remember, we brought NBA players back because David Robinson couldn't win in 1988. We got a bronze in 1988, and we also didn't we get a bronze? We got a bronze in 2006, I believe. That's the team with Marbury and a very young LeBron and a young Carmelo.
I think that was 2004, but yeah.
So it was, yeah, you're right. I'm giving it an off. I have them playing basketball at the Winter Olympics in 2006.
Well, I think it's because I think you're also confusing a little bit because I actually think in FIBA 06, they also got bronze medal. Another great feat by the LeBron James with Team USA basketball.
You are the most consistent LeBron James hater on this side of the Mason-Dixon line, and I applaud you for your consistency in your LeBron James hate. Doesn't matter what conference he's in. He's been in the West for a couple of years. Didn't matter. He went back to Cleveland. I hated him because he was on the Heat. You hate him because you hate him, your consistency. Your consistency is something that we can only applaud and only hope that RJ Barrett's jump shot remains as consistent as you are with your hate. Now, Sonat's not going to be playing in the Olympics because Canada didn't get there, but RJ Barrett did ball out in a couple of the kind of qualifying games. The rest of the team is garbage. He's out there playing with Jermaine Wiggins. But
I can't believe that. How does that team not make the Olympics? They have all NBA players.
Exactly. Other than the U.S., they're the team with the most NBA guys, and they didn't make the.
And Luka took Slovenia by himself.
And look at this, yeah. In Europe's got some, perennially good, decent squads over there.
Like France has got some NBA players.
I didn't watch any of the games. I did see RJ had decent numbers. He had 20 points in 2 of the games, and he had decent assist numbers, and rebounding was good too. But I can only assume it's Jermaine Wiggins' fault that Canada.
It has to be. And I even saw him in that game that they lost because it was on ESPN Plus. I just couldn't watch it because there was no sound, so it was completely mute the entire time, and it was choppy. The feed was. I was getting annoyed. I wanted to watch it because obviously I wanted to watch RJ Barrett, but I couldn't because it was just it was such a bad viewing experience. But then I see the highlights. Wiggins hits this step back 3 to tie it to go to overtime. So I can't imagine how bad he shot. If they still lost after he hit that shot.
If he made that one, he must have missed all the other ones he took before it.
Yeah, because they still lost. So I'm assuming he didn't shoot very well. And the rest of the team shot barely 40%.
What a waste of athletic ability. That guy's a supreme athlete. Just can't play basketball. Right. That's besides the point. Now, the Olympics here, big story. Track and field, gold medal, hopeful, maybe the front runner for it. I think she had the fastest time in 2021. But Sha'Carri Richardson, they're not even giving her a chance to try to get a clean drug test in. They left her off the roster, so she's not even traveling with them to Japan. Well, first off, they're having a COVID outbreak, and according to some Canadian scientists, cannabis fights COVID. So she should be going. She may be the most protected one on the entire track and field team. Plus, that drug list, and correct me if I'm wrong here, But that drug list is to protect the sport. It's not supposed to be a personal protection thing. So if they're protecting the sport, how is Sha'Carri Richardson smoking, a joint or whatever? I believe it was that she said it was just a joint. How is that hurting the game? It's not a performance enhancing drug, so she's not going to gain any, shave any time off of her, 100-meter dash or whatever her freaking event is. It's kind of ridiculous that it's still on that list.
Well, I think the Olympic Committee is very similar to the NCAA. And I mean it by, I think they're in their last grasp attempt to retain control. So they do things like this to make sure they let people know they're still in charge, because they're not really needed. It's clear that they're not really needed. Like you said, there's no, like even boxing, they just today I saw in the news, the Nevada Boxing Commission is now not, like, marijuana is not in the illegal substance list anymore.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't affect the game. It's ridiculous. Cocaine affects the game. So we've both seen all the film of Lawrence Taylor, sniffing coke out of a towel and then running back onto the field like a madman. That energizes you and changes you mentally in a positive fashion for sports. I don't think anybody's sitting on any, professional, Olympic or college sideline, eating an edible or lighting up a joint or something, because it's not going to assist them in the game that they're playing it right now. The fact that she had that, yes, she had a traumatic experience. That's besides the point. R.I.P. To her mom, of course, and the condolences to the Richardson family. Losing a parent is a difficult thing. You would think that it would have given some sort of leniency, and I believe it was in a state that's also legal that she did. Now, right. I get it. Rules are rules, which is what the committee said, and she knew what she was doing before she did it. So really, she should have, a CYA type deal, and that she should have really covered herself. But it's an overcorrection again, and it's taking away from what the Olympics is supposed to be about, the absolute best athletes on there, and the best athletes aren't going. So it's kind of taking it. No fans going to be in the stands. I'm not as excited for these Olympics as I have been for many things in the past. And we were even talking about it, a friend of mine earlier today. We get it. They can't cancel it, right? Like it was like the UEFA, European football. They canceled it last year, and they couldn't cancel it again. But at least they weren't in the middle of another outbreak, and the stands were full. The atmosphere at Wembley, when they went into extra time with England and what was it? Not Denmark. Denmark, right?
Denmark, yeah.
England, Denmark. That atmosphere is amazing. Yeah. I'm a fringe European soccer fan. I like the sport, but I'm not as deep into it as I am, the sports that are here on this side of the Atlantic. But I was drawn in. I was stuck. And you're not going to get that with the Olympics. You're only going to watch the sports that you're truly a fan of, because you just want to see the technical parts of that. But you're not going to watch swimming and other kind of, other stuff like that. The crowd not being there takes away a lot from the Olympics. And I wish maybe they should push it back and do the autumn Olympics instead of summer, because I'm not excited.
Yeah. And even with the other sports, I think in the past we've had, like people wanted to see Michael Phelps swim. There is no Michael Phelps anymore. Like, maybe that Simone Biles, maybe she attracts viewers, but with gymnastics, like it's even shorter than the NFL in terms of like your prime years of like, being.
She's the best in the world. But I mean, I'm no gymnastics expert. I just see somebody doing stuff that Jet Li does in movies, in real life.
Yeah, I'm not a gymnastics expert either.
Yeah, but I'm gonna watch it for a little bit. But and that's a USA root for USA right. USA type deal on that. But it's really losing. It's funny enough that you brought up Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps, a known
exactly. It
was not
in the Olympics. Usain Bolt too.
Was never a secret. So why is it now? Is it because it's a slow year? Is it the Japanese are their culture is very anti that? I don't know why they brought the gauntlet down on her. She's not the first athlete and the first star athlete. This is our number one female sprinter. For I think the 100 meters, because Allison Felix 2 and the 4. So I don't know.
And
I'm not as excited for the Olympics.
And one of the things that you mentioned that I want to dig into a little bit was because we're saying that it's not a performance enhancer, which obviously I agree. Mm-hmm. So then let's recently a couple of guys have come out, most notably Percy Harvin and Ricky Williams, and they both said they used to play high the entire time. Yep. So I know Percy Harvin personally used to deal with anxiety in the University of Florida. So that's how he was able to cope with playing in a large crowd at UF or, in the NFL. Could they have been more explosive if they weren't on weed, or did the weed help them? Like that's one situation there. And also baseball too, because you're a little more relaxed. Because that's why a lot of the guys, I mean, even though it's still a different effect, but they used to chew so much tobacco back in the day. Mm-hmm. So I just think clear cut in these three sports that we talked about, track and field, football, and boxing, there's no advantage to you smoking weed.
None whatsoever. The advantage comes after the competition. I don't know if you've ever seen Pumping Iron, Lou Ferrigno and Arnold Schwarzenegger and all of it. Yeah.
I have a terrible Arnold voice.
Everyone's got a terrible Arnold. Even Arnold has a terrible Arnold. They would have after they worked out for the recovery, the things their muscles and all. But that's I understand it. The Olympics, usually I'm up here ready to go. I'll still watch the basketball, of course. I'll flip on the track and field, but doesn't have the feel. I'm not getting up early in the morning to watch it live. I'll watch the tape delay on NBC when I get home from work. That's the way this is going.
Is Usain Bolt like too old now, or is this like his last one? Do you know anything about that? I don't even know.
I'm not sure. I have to look into that. I wasn't even sure if he was still running. He is kind of old. This would be his third Olympics. So I
think it'd be his fourth if he played. I think he'd be his fourth.
Yeah, I think this would be his fourth. This would be it's a 12-year span. Mm-hmm. And he's a special athlete. I mean, he's a bigger sprinter than you're supposed to be.
But sprint's still a young man's game. Like sprinting is still a young man's game. So.
Exactly. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, he was still dusting people the last time I saw him on a track. It's not that I'm flipping on track and field all the time when it's not an Olympic year, but the last couple times I've seen him run, he was still absolutely dusting people. But but bringing it back to this coast here, because we're keeping an eye on the time because we want to get out of here in time for tip off. The NBA Finals are one game in, and my son came out to me yesterday and looked. He goes, "So Carmelo's going to be the last one off the banana boat without a ring." So, you see what team he's picking to win the championship. He's got Chris Paul and the Phoenix Suns winning. I agree. I think it's going to go only 5. I only see Milwaukee being mildly competitive. They had a pretty healthy-looking Giannis in Game 1. He moved pretty well. He shot like shit like he normally does. Took 87 seconds to shoot free throws like he normally does. But they're not as good. Phoenix is just a better basketball team. Losing Sarge does hurt. I know you love Dario Sarge. But there is the UNC man, Cam Johnson, coming in, swapping purest form in the game.
Oh my God!
Only Steph's a better shooter, but purest form.
Okay, so now you finally admitted Steph is better, because at first it was he's the purest in the game.
No, dude, Steph's the best shooter to ever touch a basketball.
All right, so I actually see this a little different, because when I watched that game yesterday, if they solve one problem, that's like a 30-point swing in the game. And it's switching Brook Lopez on Chris Paul and Devin Booker. If Budenholzer switches the defense to stop doing that, because defensively, I like the matchup of Drew on Chris Paul and Middleton and PJ Tucker on Booker, because they're both bigger and they're both stronger than both of them. So I think this is not going to be a short series, in my opinion. I still think Phoenix is going to.
Lopez has been their best offensive player outside of Middleton over the past 4 or 5.
But you can't have him guard the backcourt of Phoenix. Come on, that's bad coaching.
No, but he's going to get killed in the pick and roll regardless, though. Because even if Ayton, he can't run with Ayton either. Ayton's a superior athlete to him. He's the slowest guy on the court, regardless of who is there. So are you going to sit him? You going to play Giannis at the 5, or are you going to bring in Bobby Portis?
Yeah, that's exactly what they'll do. They can't play. Okay. They got to go smaller like they did last series.
Fair enough.
That's what they did the last series, and that's how they came back and won. Basically, they stopped putting Brook Lopez. Well, Giannis got hurt, obviously, but
but I don't trust Giannis. I've been saying, I've been recorded on here over and over that I don't think that he's a frontline championship player. And it's the fact that if they do start to go on a little bit of a run, and that lead gets up to 8 or 10 points, you start hacking Giannis. It's boring, but do you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, once you win a championship, they don't put a little asterisk next to it if you were entertaining or not during those finals. You're going to get your trophy either way. So if they're starting to go on a run, you just start fouling him. You start fouling them, takes them out of their rhythm. Phoenix is a good enough offensive team that they're not going to have a lot of lulls. They got a lot of guys that can score. I don't see it going past 5.
No, I mean, I ultimately agree with you. The Suns are going to win it because I think Chris Paul is going to have a big game, and he's still the most experienced playoff performer, even though obviously none of them have been in the finals. Only is it Jay Crowder, and is that it? Wasn't there one more that went to the finals?
I think it's only Jay Crowder.
But either way, they're role players, so it's a different responsibility than what Chris Paul has just been through a lot of playoff games, and he's not competing against anyone with finals experience either. But I still think it'll be game 6 or 7 where he has a big game that just closes the series. I think he's going to win finals MVP.
Yeah, well, he did have a good first game, and they're going to it's his finals MVP to lose, basically.
Yeah, because
either him or Booker, and Booker would have to go ape shit. They're going to give Chris Paul.
Booker's going to get doubled first before he goes ape shit. So that's why I think it's going to be Chris Paul.
Yeah, it's going to be Chris. They'll give it to Chris Paul. And it's
ceremonious.
To put on the shelf.
Exactly.
It's a nice thing to put up on the shelf. But you're right. They're playing against an inexperienced team as well. I was going through the roster in my head on I don't think anyone. Budenholzer is the only one that has championship experience. He was a Spurs assistant, of course. But I don't think they have any players that are over there. Now they got a really good team. I still think they're one player away as well, though, because Giannis has those shortcomings on him.
Oh,
you can't give him the ball with 3 minutes left to go. Middleton's come from freaking nowhere. I mean, the guy was a second-round pick and a G League All-Star, and now he's hitting big shots in conference finals and finals. He dragged them to the NBA finals. I don't like Giannis. That's what it just comes back to. Because I just don't like Giannis.
I mean, I'm not the biggest Kawhi fan, but if you swap Kawhi for Giannis on that team, they'll beat the Suns. I think so.
In 5, they would have ran through the entire.
Yeah, like Kawhi on the Bucks would beat the Suns for sure. And he's not even the best player in the league, but I think they would easily beat the Suns.
And fairly easily they would handle the Suns. Absolutely, absolutely. So we've got some extra stuff going on here. The NBA Finals is tipping off tonight here. Both of us are agreeing the Suns are going to win. I just think it's going to be a lot quicker here. We have to see if anybody chokes in the NBA Finals. We'll see if Budenholzer can make the right moves here, because there are coaches, a coach who wear similar colors to the shirt I have on right now. And if you take that R out, this is exactly what Kyle Shanahan was talking earlier today, talking about if he could take it back, be more conservative in that situation, run the ball. For how many years now, since the damn Super Bowls, have we been yelling and screaming, trying to be the smartest dude in the room? You screwed yourself out of the Super Bowl, Rick. And as much as you love Shanahan's game and all of that, I think he's going to be starting to head in the wrong direction now. He's going to get figured out. All these great offenses always start getting figured out. He doesn't have the personnel. He had the best personnel he ever had in Atlanta. He's more than likely never have another receiver as good as Julio Jones. He may not to say that Matt Ryan's the greatest quarterback ever. Matt Ryan's an upper echelon quarterback, has been for a number of years. MVP under Shanahan. The running back complemented his play calling very well, except for when Freeman missed that block on the play that we're talking about right now. But Shanahan coming out in the news and publicly saying, if he could go back, he could take it back. Of course you could take it back, asshole. We didn't win the damn game. So I honestly think Shanahan should shut the fuck up. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, yeah, I agree. I don't see the point in talking about it. It was a while ago. You can't back and change it. If anything, that gives us affirmation that he was one who made the call. Because I remember when that happened, was it Dan Quinn? Was it him? I guess now we know it was really him. So I guess there's some closure right there for you.
It was his call, and apparently it was a call and it came in without a check, an audible option.
And then, so to the other point you mentioned about his offense getting figured out, I mean, I disagree, just because obviously when the year before, when San Francisco was healthy, their offense was good enough to go to Super Bowl. Rather than just look at the NFL, who runs the Shanahan offense? You have the Green Bay Packers, which we all know they're lethal. The St. Louis Rams with Jared Goff were able to be a good offense, and we disagree. We disagree on this, but I think Matt Stafford's going to be an MVP candidate this year. He's going to light it up.
I can't wait to see how Matt Stafford pans out in California. I can't wait. We can't be further apart on Matt Stafford in a Rams uniform. You're ready to put down some bread that he may win the MVP of the NFL. And
yeah, it's good odds.
I'm saying he's going to be, it's 17 games now. So I'll notch him. I'll give him the elbow above 500. So instead of 8-8, it'll be 9-8 because they have an extra game this year. No faith in Matthew Stafford whatsoever. He made Calvin Johnson's body hurt so much that he retired early. That we got robbed of prime Calvin Johnson years because Matt Stafford was just putting his foot in the ground and flinging it in that general direction. But you're right. What's the point, Shanahan? Are you trying to weasel your way back to Atlanta? What's the point of coming out and saying now that you if you had the opportunity to take it back? Of course you would, because hindsight's 20/20, to use the cliche, and it didn't work. That's the biggest part. Your play didn't work. If your play worked, Falcons probably still win the Super Bowl. They would have won the Super Bowl because Julio was literally it wasn't Julio, it was Laurent Robinson, the number 3 wide receiver, was literally standing by himself in the end zone. So if Freeman does make that block, Matt Ryan's got that's his 4th touchdown pass of the Super Bowl. He wins an MVP, yada, 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 the whole time. Dan Quinn's still at Atlanta the whole night. Everybody's situation is completely different if Shanahan makes a different call on that last one. Now, these were the topics that we had on here. I had one that I forgot to ask you that I wanted to chat about. No, I continue. Go ahead.
Real quick before I move on, because I wanted to finish because that's an interesting point you made about the Shanahan offense, which I think we're going to find out a lot about this year, right? So you have the two, probably the best teams that use it, right? You have the Rams and you have Green Bay, right? The other Shanahan disciple as a coach is on the Bengals, Zach Steiner, right? Mm-hmm. So now we're going to see year 2 with Burrow. I don't know how healthy he is, because if that system really does work, they have an increase in talent. You would expect now the offense to get better. And now the Jets also have that same system. So it's going to be a really important year to see if that theory is true or not. Is the NFL figuring out his offense? Mm-hmm. Because the two teams that do it well have the personnel that would probably do well in almost any offense, right?
There's always offenses that come through. You see, nobody runs the West Coast anymore. And for a while, that was the championship offense, was West Coast offense. Nobody runs a run and shoot anymore. Now, the Chuck and Duck, a.k.a. run and shoot, never really won anything, just put up good numbers, was great for fantasy. But nobody runs it anymore. After a while, the Wildcat, nobody runs that anymore either. So things usually, they do tend to get figured out at some point when you're going through. You're right, though. We'll see. This is a really good litmus test there, because the amount of teams that are running the offense, that are running with Shanahan disciples, that learn directly from the dude. It's not, people just picking up his offense, by which, like how McVay was. Actually, no, McVay was also underneath him in Washington.
McVay in Washington, exactly.
All the guys that are running it. So we'll see. With Cincinnati, I'm still worried about them being able to block.
I agree. But they should be better, is what I'm saying. Better than last year.
Yeah, they'll definitely be better. They went with the skill position guy in the first pick instead of taking a tackle. So that's the only thing kind of worried about. Can they block? Because they've got Mixon's an upper echelon running back. Burrow, they know fixed knees, so I've got pretty good faith that he's going to come back pretty strong, and healthy with the knee. But I'm just worried about them being able to block. If they can block a little bit, they'll be just fine. They got the skill position. Can't wait football's coming back home.
And the last thing you mentioned before we get to your last topic was about, and so I think this year can also change the way we look at quarterbacks. You have two examples. You have Matt Stafford with the Rams and Sam Darnold with the Panthers. I think if those guys play well, we're going to start re-examining how we evaluate quarterbacks, because you have two guys that have been in shit situations that everybody said they were shit. Their situation gets better. Now, all of a sudden they look like they are where they were drafted.
Yeah, maybe it's going to have coaches being more accountable for guys regressing or progressing.
GMs too for not building around.
Well, sometimes it's not even the GM, because in a couple cases, in the instances that you were talking about, there the GM picked the right guy, and they didn't turn him or mold him, or what's the word escaping me for a second. I'll come back to me there, but they didn't turn that high draft pick into what they were supposed to be. And it's coaching 99% of the time. Take Tannehill, for instance. And I saw a graphic today that they're looking at. They want to see if Sam Darnold can take that Tannehill jump, where he was looking as a guy that had 1 foot out the door, or at least 1 foot on the sideline holding a clipboard instead of actually in the game and playing. And a change of scenery, a change of philosophy, a change of coaching, and maybe someone who actually coaches as opposed. I'm basically talking shit about Adam Gase right now, that he looked like he was someone that barked information at people, but didn't make sure they were understanding and disseminating the information. Darnold, like a deer in headlights half the time he was out on the field, and the plays that he made, like all of his highlights. You saw pretty much every snap the Jets had over the last, your entire life. So his plays that he made were out of the pocket. They were improvised plays where he's running for his life because your O-line's been trashed for years, and those were the nice throws that he made where it was out of his head, where you didn't have to try to execute Gase's play. He's just got to find somebody on the field and make a throw. And that's when he's balled out. That throw that your current quarterback, Zach Wilson, made, going to the left and, throwing back across the body. Darnold did that in the Jets uniform last year. He's capable of absolutely every single throw. My only issue is USC quarterbacks don't have a good pedigree in the NFL. For whatever reason it is, you're a USC quarterback, you turn out to be a Mark Sanchez, a John David Booty, I almost said Christian Leighton, Matt Leinart.
But I think a lot of quarterbacks would take Carson Palmer's career.
He's the only one, though. To quote Coming to America, that's day one. Carson Palmer's the only one, and even he was. Does he have a playoff win?
I don't think so.
Exactly. Now he did,
but in contrast, look at Ohio State.
They blew me out.
But look at Ohio State, for example. They don't have anybody.
They don't have a quarterback either.
So Justin Fields has no shot.
Yeah. If we're going by school pedigree, they're both kind of screwed. There's the one-offs here and there, of course, but Ohio State, they had Poyer, they had Troy Smith, Cardell Jones,
Terrell Pryor.
That's not a good list. Haskins, not a good list. Not a good list for the Buckeyes there. So Fields can hold on to the fact that he was an original Georgia Bulldog. They have had a few quarterbacks come to at least be halfway decent. So we won't pin the full Ohio State on him. He can always say, no, I was a Georgia recruit. I mean, that's his one saving grace. In college, nice segue, by the way, there, Enrique, reading my mind there. NILs, so name and image licensing, is an actual real thing in college sports. This is going to change three things. It's going to change, obviously, our video games. We're getting back NCAA football, and I couldn't be happier. It's one of the best video games fucking ever. It's going to change recruiting, and it's going to change how long people stay in school. So I think you may see some guys stay for that senior year because they're making a lot of local advertising money. For instance, a guy, he actually did stay all 4 years, but Phillip Rivers is a massive star in South Carolina. He would have stayed. He would probably try to redshirt and stay for a fifth year if he was still, if he could have, had the NIL back then. Tebow definitely would have stayed.
Oh yeah, Tebow would have been a super senior, like a 6-7 year senior.
Yeah, exactly. He would have been, like a Duke basketball player. He would have been there forever. So
and Cam Johnson.
Cam Johnson. He transferred, redshirted. He's like 28 years old.
Exactly.
But it's going to change recruiting. And I want to see if you agree with me on how it's going to change recruiting. So you have places like, let's grab University of Florida, all right? So now everybody's on TV. Back in the day, you were fighting for CBS, NBC, and Fox, ABC on whatever night, right? Now every conference has a channel. ESPN's got the Ocho I mean, just everybody's playing and everybody's on TV. So Florida, this is using the University of Florida as an example. Now you're selling lifestyle, you're selling weather. If you're in a shitty area, let's say the team that Nebraska, perennially or historically great program, championship program in the past, struggled recently. Those boosters from Nebraska that had money when they were good in the 90s, most of them are still alive. So now you can openly pay players. Those guys own car dealerships, restaurants. So they're going to have come on down to Lincoln, Nebraska. We'll go ahead and we'll fill out, we'll get you in some commercials here. We'll make sure that your pockets are full. You're a local star. It's going to change recruiting. You're going to see some players that were maybe looking at going to one of the bigger schools down in the South or one of the bigger schools like a Notre Dame and all things of that sort. And they're going to start heading back to those other schools that were historically money laden, and they can squeeze a player here or there or come through just because they can pay him back. What do you think? Am I crazy, or do you think that's on?
Well, I think it's more going to affect the top recruiting schools, because I don't think Nick Saban will be able to stockpile 5-star talent anymore.
Yeah.
So it's going to affect more of the schools that recruit the best. It's going to even out recruiting. I think they're still going to be the best recruiters. I think Alabama's still going to get the best players is what I'm saying, but they're not going to be able to stockpile as many. So I think there's going to be more turnover in terms of who's the best team is, more parity year to year. It'll be harder for Alabama. I mean, maybe Nick Saban's good enough that he can still figure it out. I don't know. But it does definitely give a disadvantage to the schools. But it can also give an advantage to some schools where like the Florida schools that are on TV more often, you'll be able to promote yourself a lot more. And obviously there's no state income tax in Florida too. So that,
Just as well. So you may see a team like a TCU or Houston, those teams that were kind of there, kind of close. I think both of those teams missed the playoffs by not too far in recent years. Baylor is another one. My beloved Golden Knights of UCF took out Baylor in, I believe it was a Sugar Bowl a few years ago. Those teams that are just there that can't get that player because they're going to play for Alabama or they're going to USC or they're going to play for wherever Urban Meyer was going to pay them. Now the teams can openly pay people. It's better. It's going to be a good experience for the fans. We're going to have a much broader. The games are not going to be blowouts as much anymore. I think the talent's going to get spread around, because if you're a star somewhere, you're going to want to go and play right away. So as a freshman, you're going to want you start getting your commercials and your shoes and whatever you want from there. It's because the game has changed completely, and the NCAA as an entity, as an organization, they're shitting in their pants right now. They don't know what to do. They've had control forever.
I'm so happy about that.
It's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. But we got 10 minutes to tip off. This is a quick one here. I think we're out of practice. We were talking a little fast. I'll slow it down in post so that we drag it out. But I got a mini I'm going to do a little later. Also going to do a little white sports segment. Congratulations to the Tampa Bay Lightning back-to-back. That's NHL. I know we never talk anything NHL on here, but Tampa Bay Lightning down here in Florida. I also saw lightning hit the Everglades twice today, so don't be surprised if there's a fire in the morning. But CrackBacks, we're back on there. We're coming back regularly. None of these long-ass hiatuses anymore. So I'll let you next week.
Peace.